All right, so in this final chapter, we're going to discuss the topic of ethics. Ethics essentially is choosing the right thing over the wrong thing, or maybe even choosing the better choice between two right options. Now, in ethics, there are a variety of different theories. Utilitarianism essentially says that the means justify the actions, which means the end result, I'm going to choose the actions that I'm doing right now because of the end result in mind. The phrase that often is used to describe utilitarianism is that basically the greatest good for the greatest number of people. The Kantian ethics basically just say it's the right thing to do. Okay, there is such thing as the right thing and the wrong thing. And with Kantian ethics, it just basically means that you're going to choose to do it because it's the right thing to do. As far as the ethic of justice, justice is the idea that everything is fair. And so the way that it kind of guides our choices of the decisions that we're going to make is because ultimately we're going to be making that fair decision because it's fair for all the parties involved. The last theory is the social responsibility. And essentially what that just means is that within society, within the relationships between the businesses and the people within that society, those businesses have obligations and responsibilities while working with the people within that society. So that social responsibility is that businesses are going to do things and they're going to act in a certain way because of those obligations and the duties they have to the people within that area. So, some ethical values that if, individuals possess these qualities, we think of them as being a very ethical person. So, if they're trustworthy, if they do what they say, when they say they're going to do it, then that builds that trust. If they're respectful to everybody, then the decision that is made, you have the perception that that decision has been an ethical decision. If they have a large level of responsibility, they always do their best. They're self-disciplined. They're working really hard. Then, the decisions that they make when they present those decisions, then it's easier to believe that those decisions are ethical. Same thing with fairness and caring. We want to make sure that the decisions that we're making as managers, that we implement those decisions across the board the same no matter who we're making the decisions about. So if we kind of give consequences for specific actions, they need to be fair and consistent across the board. If we're giving rewards for good behavior or good productivity, then those need to be consistent across the board in order to be fair. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about image and reputation. And a lot of this goes along the lines of how you are perceived by other people. And as it relates to the decisions that you make and the things that you do, I want to really focus on this bottom left. I loved this quote when I found this. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you'll do things differently. And so you want to think about the image that you are putting out and the reputation that you are building as you are either beginning your career or making a career change or introducing yourself to the industry or whatever. Somebody is always watching you. And so if you look on the bottom right, I love this little cartoon. It says, I can't explain it. It's just a funny feeling that I'm being Googled. And so with the ability for people to access information and with as much information as people are putting out there about themselves, people are able to build an image and an idea of who you are as an individual before you even go work for those companies. And so it's really important that you take a moment and you think about the things that you're posting on social media, the things that you are participating in the business world. So if you want to build a positive image and a positive reputation, then you need to get involved. You need to get out there in front of people. I like this other quote. It says, "I'll take character over reputation. Your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are." And so while it's important to have a good reputation, it's also important that your character, that reputation, is a physical personification of your actual character. So basically, you want to talk the talk and you want to walk the walk. You want to basically match your character with the image that you're putting out, which will then build your positive reputation. So as we're going to talk a little bit about the QEP, the Quality Enhancement Plan, in the next video, but the litmus test, okay? So, ethics is kind of a gray area. There's a wide range of what it might be considered ethical and what might not be considered ethical, and really it has to do with our background and our upbringing and our culture. And a lot of different factors that can go into play to figure out, what do I feel is right versus somebody else feels that's right. And so essentially, if we can remove those different aspects, those different characteristics, and just think about some of these questions, it can guide our decision on whether we're making an ethical decision or not. So is the action legal? And so that's a very yes or no question. We can look at the law and we can say, yes, this is a legal action, or no, this is not, or this is an illegal action. Will it hurt anybody? And is it fair? Lastly, or not lastly, but am I being honest? I like this one. Can I live with my decision? And so that's kind of how I approach, because we do sometimes run into that little bit of a gray area. And ultimately, if I make a decision that I am comfortable with and I can live with it and I can justify why I made that decision, then it could be, in my mind, considered an ethical decision. Would I be willing to share my decision with everybody? If I answer no to that question, then I probably am doing something that I should not be doing. And then what if everybody did it? Does that necessarily make it correct? Now, I kind of use this as an example as when I was a server. When I was a server at TGI Fridays, I used to give away free soup and free salad and free desserts to my friends that came in. And why did I do that? Because all the servers did it. That's how we did. We kind of gave our friends the hookup when they came in. And so that's how I was trained. That's how I did it. Does that make it right? Absolutely not. At the end of the day, it's still stealing. But just because everyone's doing it doesn't make it an ethical decision. So some of the common ethical issues, the book gives quite a few, but these are ones that I kind of wanted to focus on. We want to manage an ethical environment. So we want to treat everyone fairly. We want to treat any kind of consequences that we give, any kind of rewards that are given, that they are fair and consistent across the board. As far as relations with guests and employees, we again want to make sure that everything is being fair and consistent, and the services that we provide and the employment that we provide. Honesty is a really big ethical issue. I had a situation once where I was a bartender and someone was training me, and they made the comment that they didn't feel like that they were compensated enough for their time, and so as a result, if a guest paid cash for a drink, then the server would just put the entire cash into the tip jar rather than ringing the check in, and so as a result, that person was essentially stealing. But they were making that decision, and I thought about that. I thought, man, what about this situation um, is going on that this management does not know that this is happening? And is leading to this person to feel like they need to make this type of a decision. And so, from a management perspective, it made me realize that you need to be more hands-on and you need to be more aware. Kickbacks is also another big issue with ethics in our industry. And a kickback essentially is where you're going to do something for me because I'm doing this for you. And one example, when I was an event manager for a company here in San Antonio, um, we had a venue contact us and say, if you make me your exclusive venue for this type of an event, then I will give you, 10% of what the client booked me with. I'll give that to you. And that's a kickback. Like I'm giving you business because you're giving me this in return. And so we want to make sure that we are recommending businesses or to our guests, or we are taking contracts for the right reason and not because we are getting something in return. A kind of a gray area, when I was a front desk agent at a La Quinta, the different restaurants would give us these kind of frequent rewards programs where they give us business cards, and it was a 10% off their meal. And so we'd write our name on it, and for every 10 certificates that were redeemed with our name on it, then we would get a $10 gift certificate to come eat at that restaurant. So that's kind of a gray area because essentially you're recommending a business just because of the fact that you could potentially get $10 off or a $10 gift certificate. And so the way I kind of got around that ethical dilemma is I went to all the different restaurants that were giving us these coupons, and I tried them all out. And then ultimately, I only went and suggested businesses that I felt had great service and good food. So that way I was not necessarily recommending a business just because I was getting this in return. I was recommending businesses because they provided great service and because their food was great. The last thing I want to talk about is our advertising claims. And in advertising claims, it's really important, how many times have you gone to a restaurant or a hotel that you've seen pictures online and then you get there and the pictures don't match what is actually there as far as the restaurant or the hotel. And so, I like this example. This is a beautiful pool. It's got an infinity edge out towards the ocean. And then if you get there and it does not look like that, then that's false advertising. And so when we are making advertising claims, when we're putting things out there to attract people to come to our business, they need to be accurate. And so we don't want to just put really, really pretty pictures out there and then the end result does not look like the actual thing. And so these are just some of the common ethical issues that we face. And so I want you to think about other ethical issues that you might have faced in the hospitality industry, both as a guest and as an employee potentially.